Ice crunched under Elias Vance's footwear as he exited the cab, inhaling the sharp December atmosphere of his native city, a sensation new to him after almost 9 months away. His slender physique was clad in a bespoke suit, which carried the lingering aroma of a Berlin legal chamber. The global arbitration matter that had monopolized his existence had at last reached a resolution, one poised to be a cornerstone of his professional journey as a litigator. Elias had emerged as the individual who rescued Apex Innovations from utter ruin. A colossal $6 billion legal claim, dismantled through sheer tactical acumen. The unassuming 2-level colonial residence ahead was adorned with festive lights, their blinking sequence a comforting, recognizable sight. With each stride towards the entrance, Elias braced himself for the profound impact his return would have, anticipating the reactions during the holiday period. Leon and Amelia chuckled at Pierce's witticisms. Humorous anecdotes delivered from Dorian's armchair by a man sporting house shoes Dorian had not previously observed, yet which oddly complemented the room's furnishings. As Dorian readied himself for departure, he paused in the entrance hall where Veronica was bidding farewell to several visitors. "I will make contact," he stated softly. Veronica grinned, evidently relieved by his departure without any commotion. "Look after yourself, Dorian." "And you as well, Vero," he answered. "Every away." The preceding 9 months were characterized by video conferences that progressively diminished in length and communications that grew ever more infrequent. Nevertheless, no amount of foresight could have readied him for the scene that lay within. He had envisioned this reunion throughout the 12-hour journey back. Clara rushing to embrace him, Ethan and Olivia playfully vying for the initial hug. In stark contrast, as Elias nudged the door inward, he was met by peals of laughter that ceased instantaneously upon his arrival. "Well, look who finally recalled his address," Clara remarked, her tone possessing an unfamiliar sharpness that Elias had not encountered previously. Positioned in his personal lounge, Elias experienced the distinct sensation of being an unwelcome guest. Clara stayed put on the sofa, beside a gentleman Elias did not recognize. He was a tall man, his hair a mix of dark and gray, sporting a high-priced timepiece that glinted as he casually rested his arm along the sofa's rear. "You've arrived sooner than planned," Clara stated, glancing at her watch. "Our expectation was for your arrival tomorrow." "I managed to board an earlier plane," Elias responded, placing his bags on the floor. Ethan, his 18-year-old son, scarcely lifted his gaze from his mobile device. "What was the point of your return? Your presence isn't desired by anyone here." The pronouncements landed with the force of actual strikes, yet Elias kept the same composed facade he employed when faced with unforeseen evidence from opposing legal teams. "Olivia, at 16 and already reflecting one of you." His tone possessed a nuance that caused Veronica's smile to waver momentarily before he ventured out into the chill. The Bayshore Inn served as Dorian's provisional dwelling as February's harsh gales buffeted the metropolis. From his set of rooms, he could view the legal practice where he had forged his professional path over the last 22 years. Apex Innovations had acknowledged his latest triumph with a considerable financial reward. Funds that currently financed his methodical reaction to the perfidy. Dorian engaged private detective Miriam Lefebvre, a past client renowned as much for her prudence as for her effectiveness. "I require a complete picture," Dorian informed her at their initial consultation. "Beyond merely the infidelity, I aim to discover the true nature of Pierce Holden. I desire to understand the process by which my offspring were alienated from me. I wish to ascertain Veronica's ultimate objective." Miriam examined the dossiers Dorian had assembled. "This is already more comprehensive than the majority of my initial investigations." "I am meticulous by disposition," Dorian responded. "However, I require an individual with your level of accessibility." In 3 weeks, Miriam presented an exhaustive account. Pierce Holden was a developer in commercial property, with 3 marital dissolutions in his past. He had encountered Veronica at a philanthropic event 10 months prior, while Dorian was engrossed in preparations for his case in Switzerland. Their liaison commenced soon thereafter. More unsettling were the textual communications Miriam had retrieved, demonstrating Veronica's systematic estrangement of the children from their father. "She informed them of your purported intention to forsake the family for your professional ambitions," Miriam elucidated. She insinuated that you had formed a new attachment in Switzerland. The sheer paradox, Dorian remarked, his voice devoid of emotion. Yet, the most telling revelation concerned Veronica's her mother's frosty disposition, chimed in from the kitchen entrance. Mom's new companion is settling in tomorrow. Elias's gaze locked onto the unfamiliar man, who, to his credit, appeared somewhat uneasy. Elias, this individual is Marcus, Clara announced, motioning towards him. Marcus, this is my provisional spouse, who won't be staying for an extended period. The term, provisional, resonated in Elias's thoughts as he offered his hand in a robotic gesture. I comprehend entirely, Elias stated, his words delivered with a composure that astonished even himself. The Christmas Eve meal was incentive. Pierce had persuaded her that, given Dorian's anticipated promotion to partner at his legal firm, she could lay claim to 50% of his subsequent income in the separation, a sum considerably larger than their premarital contract stipulated. They intend to compel a resolution by menacing your standing within the firm, Miriam finished. Pierce possesses links to various board, an act of normalcy veiled in animosity. Marcus made an early departure, vowing to come back the following day. The gifts directors at Apex Innovations. During that very week, Dorian was served with divorce documents by Veronica's counsel, Trevor Rossi, and beneath the festive tree-bore tags that omitted Elias's name, not a single symbolic present had been set aside for him. Infamous divorce litigator recognized for his confrontational methods. The preliminary settlement request was astounding. 70% of later in the evening, as Elias lay restless in the spare room, he utilized his phone to access the household surveillance network. The cameras, which he had put in place years prior, had been capturing all activity. 9 months of recordings. He began with the latest all possessions, the residence, and spousal support calculated on Dorian's anticipated earnings as a partner. She is exceeding reasonable limits, affirmed Dorian's own lawyer, Sylvia Ramos. But Rossi will ensure this becomes unpleasant if we contest entries, and proceeded in reverse chronological order. By sunrise, Elias had observed Marcus entering his residence on 142 occasions within the it. I am relying on that, Dorian answered. The following month witnessed a widespread intensification, and signed grievances last 6 months. He had seen Clara deliberating separation arrangements with an attorney in their kitchen 4 months prior. Most regarding Dorian's behavior during the Apex case surfaced at the Provincial Legal Society. Apex Innovations obtained correspondence challenging his invoicing procedures distressingly. He had listened to Clara instructing Ethan and Olivia on their script for his arrival. Ensure he feels unwanted, she had directed them. The sooner he departs, the more favorable my settlement will be. As daylight broke on Christmas Day, his children ceased all replies to his communications. It is Pierce, Miriam verified following additional inquiries. He is. Elias prepared coffee in the kitchen he had personally refurbished some years back. He composed several messages only to erase them, this leveraging his connections, disseminating gossip via his contacts. Dorian's consideration for partnership at the firm was discreetly deferred. A waiting situation was not suited for text-based communication. It demanded meticulousness. Happy Christmas, Clara uttered upon entering the kitchen. The settlement of the grievances. The senior partner, Lance Bishop, summoned Dorian to his office on a damp March afternoon. Her gaze averted from his. Is it truly? Elias questioned, observing her intently. There's no, these accusations are disquieting, Dory, Lance stated, indicating the grievance dossier, particularly arising immediately after your most significant victory. They are also entirely baseless, Dorian responded composedly, and impeccably synchronized with my divorce process. Lance present for me beneath the tree. Clara poured herself a cup of coffee. You've been absent, Elias. What were your expectations? Truthfulness, he responded plainly. At the very least, we've drifted in different directions. Arched a brow. Divorce? You had not brought that up. It bore no relation to my professional duties, she stated with a rehearsed air. Eva initiated divorce proceedings. My legal counsel will reach out to Dorian said. Until this moment, it seems. Well, it gains relevance when your estranged wife's beau is playing yours following the holiday period. Elias acknowledged with a nod, his face inscrutable. Candor, finally. I am grateful golf with 3 individuals from our board, Lance countered. Pierce Holden has been notably outspoken regarding your personal circumstances. Dorian nodded. I had an inkling of that. Lance inclined forward. Listen, I have been acquainted with you for that. That same afternoon, Elias gathered his belongings as Clara orchestrated a Christmas festivity that seemed more a tribute to his non-presence. Marcus reappeared, bearing presents for all attendees. Ethan and Olivia chuckled at Marcus's quips. In 22 years. This characterization is inconsistent with my knowledge of you, but appearances are crucial in this field. Grant me 7 weeks, Dorian requested. That is the extent of time I require. Throughout April, Dorian projected notes shared from Elias's own armchair, delivered by a man in slippers Elias hadn't seen previously. Yet they the image of a man withdrawing. He relocated to more modest hotel quarters. He consented to a provisional decrease in his assigned, oddly complemented the room's aesthetic. As Elias readied his departure, he halted in the entrance hall where Clara was bidding cases. He initiated settlement discussions with Veronica's lawyer, apparently prepared to yield to the majority of her stipulations. Yet farewell to some visitors. I will contact you, he stated softly. Clara grinned, palpably relieved by his. Within his downsized hotel lodgings, Dorian was constructing an intricate network. Aided by Miriam, he charted the departure without any commotion. Look after yourself, Elias. And you as well, Clara, he answered. Every link between Pierce's commercial ventures and the grievances lodged against him. He recorded each occurrence of parental estrangement and commenced one of you. His tone held a nuance that caused Clara's smile to waver momentarily before he ventured out into the making carefully aimed telephone calls to past clients and professional contacts. By May, Pierce had taken up residence in Dorian's home chill. The Grandview Suites served as Elias's interim lodging, while January's harsh gales buffeted the metropolis. Local surveillance footage depicted him entertaining guests for dinner using Dorian's tableware, occupying Dorian's bed, and attired in. From his set of rooms, he had a view of the legal practice where he had forged his professional path over the preceding 22 years. Apex Innovations had acknowledged his latest triumph with a considerable financial reward. Finances that now Dorian's dressing gowns. Veronica started using Pierce's surname at social functions, even though the divorce was not yet concluded, supported his deliberate countermove to the perfidy. Elias engaged Isabella Rossi, a private detective and a past client, whose they believe they have triumphed, Dorian remarked to Sylvia during a tactical meeting. That is precisely the position I require them to be in. The divorce court date was set for June 12th. As the day drew near, Veronica, renowned for confidentiality, was equal to her effectiveness. I require a complete picture, Elias conveyed to her at their initial consultations. Settlement conditions became increasingly assertive, reinforced by her perception of Dorian's career decline. For days prior to the hearing, beyond merely the infidelity, I aimed to discover the true identity of Marcus Thorne. I wish to understand Dorian got a text message from Amelia, the initial direct communication from either of his children in several months. Mother process by which my children were alienated from me. I need to ascertain what Clara's ultimate objective entails. Isabella examined the documentation Elias had assembled. This is already more comprehensive than the majority of my initial investigations. I possess a naturally meticulous disposition. Claims you will be without a home following the divorce. Is this accurate? Dorian gazed at the message, detecting not der. Elias responded. However, I require an individual with your level of access. In approximately 3 weeks, Isabella provided but a glimmer of apprehension. He answered succinctly, Do not be concerned about me, Amy. The truth tends to emerge eventually. That evening, Dorian placed one last telephone call. The day of the divorce hearing began with surprising and exhaustive account. Marcus Thorne was identified as a developer in commercial properties, with a history of 3 prior divorces. Lucidity. Dorian reached the courthouse ahead of schedule. Attired in the identical suit he had sported upon winning the Apex, encountered Clara at a philanthropic event 10 months earlier, during the period Elias was readying for his case in Switzerland case. He occupied a bench solitary outside the courtroom, perusing papers while he awaited proceedings. Veronica appeared with Pierce and Trevor. Their liaison commenced not long thereafter. More unsettling were the text communications Isabella had retrieved, which revealed Clara's methodical Rossi, her legal representative. She passed Dorian without a sign of recognition, but Pierce deliberately came over to him. No ill efforts to estrange the children from their father. She informed them of your supposed intention to forsake the family in will, Pierce stated, offering his hand. Commerce is commerce. Kin is kin. Dorian observed the proffered hand but did not favor of your profession, Isabella elucidated. She insinuated that you had formed a new attachment in Switzerland. The sheer accept it, indubitably. As they proceeded into the courtroom, Dorian observed an anomaly. The public seating area was densely irony, Elias remarked, his tone devoid of emotion. Yet, the most significant revelation pertained to Clara's actual incentives occupied. In the foremost row were Lance Bishop and 3 additional partners from his firm. Positioned behind them was Vincent Apex himself, Chief Executive Officer of Apex Innovations. Numerous other individuals Dorian knew from diverse facets of his career filled the other seats. Veronica, Marcus had persuaded her that, given Elias's anticipated promotion to partner at his legal practice, she could lay claim to 50% of his subsequent income in the separation, a sum considerably larger than their pre-existing marital contract stipulated. Their strategy involves inclined towards her lawyer, murmuring with urgency. Rossi appeared equally bewildered by the attendees. Judge Marion Dubois made her entrance, examined compelling a settlement through threats to tarnish your standing at the firm, Isabella finished. Marcus possesses links with various directors on the case dossier, then raised her gaze with keen eyes. Prior to commencing, I am informed there is a petition to submit fresh evidence. Sylvia Ramos rose. Yes, Your Honor. Within the last 72 hours, significant new details have the board of Apex Innovations. During that very week, Elias was served with divorce documents by Clara's legal representative. Julian Croft emerged that bear directly upon this litigation. Rossi voiced an immediate objection. Your Honor, this is a clear maneuver to postpone, an infamous divorce attorney recognized for his combative methods. The preliminary settlement request was astounding. 70% of all matters. If I might interject, a voice emanated from the gallery. Lance Bishop stood, speaking to the court. Your Honor, I am Lance Bishop, senior partner at Home, Bishop and Associates, the firm that employs Mr. Holdings, the residence and spousal support calculated on Elias's anticipated earnings as a partner. She is definitely pushing the boundaries, Martel. Our organization wishes to support this petition and offer proof of what seems to be a concerted effort to tarnish Mr. Martel, affirmed Elias's own counsel, Eleanor Hayes. However, Croft will ensure this becomes unpleasant if we contest its professional standing for the purpose of influencing this litigation. Martel's professional standing for the purpose of influencing this litigation. That is precisely my expectation, Elias retorted. The subsequent month witnessed a wide-ranging intensification and signed grievances. The judge's demeanor became stern. All counsel approached the bench. Following an intense private conference at the bench concerning Elias's behavior during the Apex Innovations matter surfaced at the Legal Conduct Board. Apex Innovations itself received correspondence querying his invoicing. Judge Dubois declared, "This evidence will be heard. Mr. Rossi, your dissent is officially recorded." What ensued methods? His children ceased all replies to his communications. It's Marcus. Isabella corroborated this after additional inquiries. Was a systematic deconstruction of the account Veronica and Pierce had fabricated. Miriam Lefevre gave testimony regarding the methodic house leveraging his connections, disseminating gossip via his contacts. Elias's potential partnership at the firm was discreetly deferred endeavor to estrange Dorian's children. Lance submitted proof that all grievances lodged against Dorian had come from business contacts of Pierce Holden, awaiting the outcome of the grievances. The senior partner, Arthur Sterling, summoned Elias to his office on a damp February afternoon. These accusations are disquieting, Eli, Arthur remarked, indicating the file of complaints, particularly given they follow. Most detrimental was the statement from Vincent Apex, who disclosed that Pierce had made direct overtures to him, proposing advantageous your most significant victory. They are, furthermore, entirely baseless, Elias responded with composure. And their timing is impec property transactions in return for detrimental intelligence concerning Dorian. Mr. Holden suggested that such intelligence would be immensely valuable in obly synchronized with my divorce process. Arthur arched a brow. Divorce? You hadn't brought that up. Forthcoming divorce, Apex testified. I made a recording of our dialogue. The audio replay permeated the courtroom with Pierce's voice labor. It bore no relation to my professional duties, Elias stated. Until this point, it seems. Well, it certainly becomes stating on their strategy to extract maximum financial gain from Martel and how Veronica had executed her role flawlessly. Around noon, Judge Relevant when your estranged wife's new partner is playing golf with 3 individuals from our board, Arthur countered. Marcus Dubois declared a pause in proceedings. When the hearing reconvened, the number of spectators had diminished, but the ambience Thorne has been rather outspoken regarding your personal affairs. Elias nodded. That was my suspicion. Arthur leaned in. Had altered significantly. Pierce was notably missing. Veronica was seated by herself next to her lawyer, who was desperately revising their listen. I've been acquainted with you for 22 years. This entire situation seems uncharacteristic of you, yet stance. Considering the evidence submitted, Judge Dubois stated, I am disposed to regard the initial settlement proposals with considerable in our line of work. How things appear is crucial. Allow me 7 weeks, Elias requested. That is doubt. Moreover, I am directing this issue to the Public Prosecutor's Office for possible legal action on counts of false the full extent of the time I require. During the month of March, Elias gave the impression of a man withdrawing testimony, interference with witnesses, and attempted blackmail. Veronica's complexion had become entirely pale. Rossi asked for another break. He relocated to more modest hotel quarters. He agreed to a provisional decrease in his assigned cases. He initiated discussions for a settlement to consult with his client. Upon their return, Rossi declared that Veronica would consent to the conditions of the initial premarital contract. Clara's legal counsel, apparently prepared to yield on the majority of her stipulations. Yet, within the confines of his downsized, relinquishing any claims on future income. She would leave the shared residence within 45 days, and she would retract lodgings. Elias was constructing an intricate network. Aided by Isabella, he charted the links between Marcus's commercial all accusations against Dorian concerning his professional behavior. As the legal process concluded, Dorian received a text from an unidentifiable ventures and the grievances lodged against him. He meticulously recorded each occurrence of parental estrangement and commenced a series of carefully aimed source. What in blazes did you accomplish? Beyond the courthouse, Lance approached Dorian, smiling. The partnership election telephone calls to past clients and professional contacts. By the time April arrived, Marcus had taken up residence in Elias's home, is scheduled for the upcoming week. Following this day's display, I would consider it a mere procedural step. I appreciate your presence, Dorian stated. Extend your gratitude to Vincent, Lance responded. He was adamant that we all attend. Local surveillance footage captured him entertaining guests at dinner parties using Elias's crockery, occupying Elias's bed, and donning Elias's dressing gowns. Clara started using Marcus's surname at social functions, even though the divorce was yet to be concluded. He mentioned you rescued his enterprise and he felt indebted to you. As the assembly thinned, Dorian observed Leon and Amelia positioned. They believe they have triumphed, Elias remarked to Eleanor during a planning meeting. That is precisely the position uncomfortably at the base of the courthouse stairs. Amelia's eyes were inflamed from weeping. Father, she uttered as he drew near. Is the information about Mother accurate? Dorian chose his words with deliberation. Your I require them to be in. The divorce adjudication was set for June 10th. As this date neared, Mother made decisions. As did Pierce. As did I, by giving precedence to my case when my attentiveness here was lacking. Clara's settlement stipulations became increasingly assertive, reinforced by her interpretation of Elias's career decline. For days prior to the adjudication, none among us is blameless. But they deceived us, Leon interjected, his voice faltering. Elias received a text message from Olivia, representing the initial direct communication from either of his offspring in several months. They manipulated us into despising you. Animosity comes without effort, Dorian replied. Comprehension is more. Mom claims you'll end up without a home following the divorce. Is there any truth to that? Elias gazed challenging. What is the next step? Amelia inquired. Now, Dorian stated, we begin anew, with candor at the communication, detecting not derision, but a faint glimmer of apprehension. He responded succinctly, do not concern yourself about this instance. That evening, subsequent to a meeting with Sylvia to conclude the divorce settlement, Dorian went back to the my situation, Olivia. The facts tend to emerge eventually. That evening, Elias placed one last telephone call. The day of the divorce adjudication began with an unforeseen lucidity. Elias reached the courthouse ahead of schedule, attired in the identical Bayshore Inn. His phone displayed a succession of progressively frantic texts from Pierce, whose property development business was crumbling as financier's suit he had donned upon securing victory in the Apex Innovations case. He occupied a solitary bench external to the courtroom. Perusing papers and associates withdrew in the wake of the courtroom disclosures. An independent message from Veronica simply stated, Pierce has departed. He removed his possessions and left without a farewell. I never intended for matters to escalate to this degree. Dorian did not respond while he awaited proceedings. Clara appeared accompanied by Marcus and Julian Croft, her legal representative. She passed by Elias without a sign of recognition, yet Marcus made a deliberate effort to address him. No resentment, I hope, Marcus stated, prof to either communication, as he gathered his items to return to his residence. Now exclusively his according to the concluded settlement, Dorian contemplated during his hand. Professional matters are distinct from personal ones. Kinship is kinship. Elias glanced at the extended hand but did the rapid, resolute justice he had engineered, achieved not by force or unlawful actions, but via the identical systematic approach that had secured not accepted. Quite so. As they proceeded into the judicial chamber, Elias observed an atypical sight. The spectator his victory in the Apex case. Endurance, exactitude, and impeccable timing. The last text he dispatched that night was to area was densely populated. Occupying the foremost row were Arthur Sterling and 3 additional partners from his legal practice. Position his offspring. Relocating to our home tomorrow. Much rebuilding is necessary. I am prepared when you are. In behind them was Harrison Apex in person, the chief executive of Apex Innovations. A number of other individuals, whom Elias the morning, as Dorian completed his departure from the hotel, the attendant presented him with a parcel. Within was a name new from diverse areas of his career, filled the other seats. Clara inclined towards her lawyer, murmuring with urgency. Croft plaque for his partner's office door, accompanied by a note from Lance. Rectitude becomes you. Dorian smiled. Rectitude, assuredly, appeared just as bewildered by the assembly of onlookers. Judge Eleanor Carmichael made her entrance, examined the case dossier, and then raised her gaze, her eyes keen. Prior to commencing, it is my understanding that a petition has been submitted to present